colony, children had to work to eat, and every child in the United Kingdom started work at age 10. 1/5 the entire Swedish population, including many of our relatives, fled starvation to the United States, and only 20% of them ever returned. When the harvest failed and your relatives, friends, and relatives starved to death, what did you do? You escaped. You migrated, if you could. Level 1 is where world humanity started. It's where the majority always lived until 1966. Until then, extreme poverty was the rule, not the exception. Extreme poverty rate from 1800 to today. Share of humanity living on level 1 on less than $2 per day. The curve you see above shows how the extreme poverty rate has been falling since 1800. And look at the last 20 years, extreme poverty dropped faster than ever in world history. In 1997, 42% of the population of both India and China were living in extreme poverty. By 2017, in India, the share had dropped 12%. There are 270 million poorer people living in extreme poverty than there had been just 20 years earlier. In China, the share dropped to a stunning 0.7% over the same period, meaning another 500 million people over this crucial threshold. Meanwhile, Latin America took its proportion from 14% to 4%, another 35 million people. While all estimates extreme poverty are very uncertain, and the change appears to be like this, then beyond all doubt, something huge is happening. How old were you 20 years ago? Close your eyes for a second and remember your younger self. How much has your world changed? A lot? A little? Well, this is how much the world changed. Just 20 years age ago, 29% of the world population live in extreme poverty. Now, the number is 9%. Today, almost everybody has escaped hell. The original source of all human suffering is about to be eradicated. We should plan a party, a big party, and when I say we, I mean humanity. Instead, you are gloomy. On our level 4 TVs, we still see people in extreme poverty, and it seems that nothing has changed. Billions of people have escaped misery and become consumers and producers for the world maker. Billions of people have managed to slide up from level 1 to level 2 and 3 without the people on level 4 noticing. Life expectancy. Fact question 4. What's the life expectancy of the world today? A. 50 years, B. 60 years, C. 70 years. Showing all the cause of the death and suffering in one number is nearly impossible, but the average life expectancy gets very close. Every child close, every premature death from the man-made or natural disaster, every mother dying in childbirth, and every elderly person's prolonged life is reflected in this measure. Back in 1800, when Swedes starved to death and Britain's children worked in coal mines, life expectancy was roughly 30 years everywhere in the world. That was what it had been throughout history. Almost all babies who were ever born, roughly half died during their childhood. Most of the other half died between ages 50 and 70s. So the average was about 30s. It doesn't mean most people lived to be 30s. It's just an average. With the average, we must always remember that there's a spread. The average life expectancy across the world today is 70. Actually, it's better than that. It's 72. Here are the results of some polling. Fact question 4 result. The percentage who answered correctly. US 47, Canada 43%, Finland, Sweden. Nobel Lido meeting, Karolinska Institute, Cornell University, Swedish Media University, India Capt Tech University, UK Skeptics Conference, Swedish Minister of Finance, Swedish Trade Union, Norwegian teachers. This is one of those questions where the better educated you are, the more ignorant you seem to be. In most countries where we tested, members of the public just about beat the chimps. The full country breakdown in the appendix. But in our more highly educated audience, the most popular answer was 60 years. That would have been correct if we asked the question in 1976, the year then 200,000 people starved to death in Utopia. But asked it in this decade, more than 40 years of progress later, people live on average 10 years longer now. We humans have always struggled hard to make our families survive, and finally you are succeeding. Average length of life from 1800 to today. 31 years. Famine, Spanish flu, World War II, Second World War, China famine, 2017, 72 years. And I saw this amazing graph, people often ask, what's the most recent tip there? And they point at 1960. If you don't know already, this is a great opportunity for me to attack the misconception that the world is getting worse. There was a dip in global life expectancy curve in 1960 because 15 to 40 million people, nobody knows the exact number, starved to death that year in China. In fact, it was probably the world's largest ever man-made famine. The Chinese harvest in 1960 smaller than planned because of a bad season combined with poor governmental advice about how to grow crops more effectively. The local government didn't want to show bad results, so they took all the food and sent it to the central government. There was no food left. 1 year later, the sacked inspectors were delivering eyewitness report of cannibalism and dead bodies along the road. The government denied that its central planning had failed, and the catastrophe was kept secret by the Chinese government. For 36 years, it wasn't described in English to the outside world until 1996. Think about it. Could any government keep the deaths of 15 million people a global secret today? Even if the Chinese government had told the world about this strategy, this tragedy. The UN World Food Program, which today distributes food to wherever it's most needed in the world, couldn't have helped. It wasn't created until 1961. The misconception that the world is getting worse is very difficult to maintain when you put present in its historical context. We shouldn't diminish the tragedy of the drought and famine happening right now. But knowledge of the tragedy of the past should help everyone realize how the world has been both much more transparent and much better at getting help to where it's needed. I was born in Egypt. My home country of Sweden is today on level 4 and one of the richest and healthiest countries in the world. Saying that a country is on level 4 means that average person in the country is on level 4. It doesn't mean that everyone in Sweden is on level 4. Remember, average disguise spread, but it hasn't always been so. Now I am going to show your favorite graph. There's a color version of it in the inside front door of this book. I call it World Health Chart. It's like a world map for health and wealth, as is the bubble graph you saw in the previous